Good afternoon, sir. Afternoon. Good afternoon.
Let it remain. Let it remain.
Should I?
Don't unbutton. Button it up.
Okay.
Okay, you Mr. Piyush Kumar Rai, you are from Balia,
Yes, sir.
and your first preference for IAS is Rajasthan.
No, Uttar Pradesh itself. Home
Uttar
category.
Yeah. So, you are in material science and engineering. That means mechanical engineering, or
It's like there are some similarities between mechanical engineering and material science, but material science is more focused on creation of knowledge on new materials and then building products on those.
what is the use of this science? Material science.
So basically, this science has been used since ages. We have in history Bronze Age, Iron Age, and so like all these materials, we reform them, we use them to our needs. So basically, the new materials which come up, these are like this department like develops those materials.
And for material science, you have opted for political science and international relations. You have interest in international relations.
Yes, sir.
You opted for IAFS also. That is the number 3 preference. Huh?
Yes, sir.
So tell me what all is going on around India. What is the security scenario around India? South China Sea, LAC, LOC.
So what we are seeing is a once in century phenomenon, that is rise of China, a rise of a great power near our borders, and that is having ripple effect like in South China Sea, where we can see China is trying to assert itself. We are also seeing the same phenomenon on our borders, in the northern borders, where we have a boundary dispute with the same power, and we have had that Ladakh standoff with China. So like, and then a counter coalition is emerging up in the form of Quad with India and the like-minded countries.
Is Quad really functional?
Like it's in its initial development phase, so we like it is developing, and we hope that it will.
One more country has joined Quad recently.
One more
Country has joined Quad.
Yes, look, Quad is the
Only 4 are there.
we are like trying to make it Quad plus countries. So we are trying to add South Korea, maybe if it wants to join.
Somebody says it is a counterpart of NATO in Asia.
Like we should not reframe like that. From Indian perspective, we should say what Quad stands for and not what Quad is against. NATO was mostly against the Russia, but here the Quad is for free and rule-based navigation in South China Sea and Asia, like Indo-Pacific Ocean. So from Indian perspective, it is not against anybody, but for the rule-based order.
What is the position regarding India getting the permanent seat in the Security Council? Is there any hope for it?
So the one permanent member, that is China, is consistently vetoing it. Any reforms whatsoever in the UNSC. So like in practical terms, there looks no real chance. But we have invested so much in the UNSC permanent seat that we should keep trying to maintain whatever we have gained. Already we have been part of non-permanent member for too many times. So we should keep pushing it, but in near future it looks not so sure.
There is no hope.
Hope is always
Because
there.
the United Nations itself is becoming irrelevant.
Yes, sir. So like we can't say there is no hope. If there is a reform, India can get a permanent seat with say some qualification, like we won't have veto power and all. So there is always a hope, but with maybe less power.
India is always quite scared of China on all issues. whether it is Myanmar, we are not able to take a stand. We are celebrating their Armed Forces Day, and the civilians in the Myanmar are being killed by the same armed forces.
Sir, India unequivocally condemned the violence by the Janta forces there. And as far as the fearing of China is concerned, sir, we are taking a realistic view of the situation. Right now, the China is militarily spending 4 times more than us. The GDP of China is 5 times than us, and that is a neighbor. So we can't change the geography. So we have to take a realistic view. Right now, we don't want to confront China because we are not, frankly, in a realistic position to confront them. Obviously, we are trying to compete wherever possible.
We should continue to play the second fiddle in China.
We should buy our time and hide our strengths till we get capable enough, sir.
Don't you think a world war is inevitable, third world war?
I do not think third world war is inevitable, sir, because of the nuclear deterrence, the new development in armory. The nations which are rational actors will definitely be little fearful to go for mutual assured destruction, sir.
Very well said that we should buy time. Any good strategist would wait for the right time. That's a good answer. Compliments on you for that.
Thank you.
Let's come on the economic front.
Yes.
Pre-COVID and post-COVID situations in the economic front.
Yes.
How do you rate it, the budget vis-a-vis the situation?
As we have exceeded the FRBM limits and have gone for escape clause, I think it was a right policy to go for counter-cyclical measures because we had a shock due to COVID pandemic. So I guess on the infrastructure, on the job creation front, I rate it really good. Maybe like the production-linked incentive schemes that we have brought right now, maybe we could extend it to more sectors, but definitely like the budget is in the right direction.
Okay. What are the sectors where we have made major changes, positive changes?
So we have reformed our labor laws, the capital needs of industry. We have tried to bring these production linked incentives. On the law, like regulation forms, we are trying to follow the ease of doing business, trying to reduce the time to enforce courts, to get the licenses. So on the all 4 fronts, land, labor, capital, and law, we are trying to make our nation more business friendly. However, land as it is a state subject, there are little bit of
yes, that's a big block. What do you rate the budget outlay for health and well-being?
Definitely, there is a big scope to improve over there.
Have we increased the budget to vis-a-vis health?
Yeah, like we haven't increased it as a percentage of GDP. Our target is to take it to 2.5% of GDP. However, it is stuck around 1%, and due to that, the out-of-pocket expenditure from our people is 60%.
We have increased the budget practically what is possible, 137%, but that also is not good enough.
Yes.
Second thing, the money which we have earmarked is spent where? Could you specify where the whole budget outlay is expended? How we are spending it?
In the healthcare sector. So in the tertiary healthcare, we are trying to spend on the PMJS scheme.
No, immediately where the money is going. So where is the outflow? Which side?
In the healthcare department. Right now in the vaccination type that we are conducting.
Yes, vaccination. The whole money is going down the drain to get more people vaccinated.
Yes.
Right. What do you think that, as a futuristic person, when you become a civil servant and you also have to deal with finance, where should be our emphasis?
Yes. As an
emphasis for growth.
Yes.
We need to grow. We need to become better.
Yes.
So what do we do?
Yes. So
that should be our focus. Emphasis should be on which sector?
Yes. So the most important sector we need to focus is on the research and development sector, where we are spending only 0.7% of GDP, and whereas the small nations like Israel are spending 7% of GDP. Because if we want to be a knowledge-based economy, which is the future of the economy, we need to focus on that part. Other than that, every civilization which has grown over the years, in every millennia, has produced a lot of cargo. So we need to assist our manufacturers to increase the share of manufacturing in our economy.
That is already focused, because manufacturing, if we are so dependent on China for small manufactured items, and the cost factor is a big deterrent, where when India produces a particular thing in the manufacturing sector, it is very expensive. We have not given the level playing field to our people. We have not made people to compete for things. We just take everything as a subsidy. So there maybe we are lacking that. That needs to be highlighted in the manufacturing sector till we compete with China and make it cost effective.
Yes.
Nobody, as a human being, as an individual, I would rather buy a thing for 10 rupees than to spend 100 rupees. Itna desh prem to nahi hota na. So we have to, cost cutting is important. More efficiency, more effectiveness is needed. That should be your answer. Now, what would you say about have you heard about the faceless income tax department?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me more.
So what we are trying to do is make the direct income and indirect taxation also faceless, paperless and cashless, to decrease the over-regulation and a lot of discretion that was available with the tax officers for basically ease of living of the individuals and ease of taxation.
So the taxation department is a hurdle for ease of living. You want to say that?
No, people definitely want easy taxation policy. They want
for that the taxation department is not responsible. The government is responsible. We only implement the law, right?
Definitely.
So we should make more practical, implementable laws.
Yes, ma'am.
And not make frequent changes.
Definitely.
Frequent changes confuse public more than anything else.
Definitely.
So many amendments and so many fluctuations would, that is the basic problem. Not only faceless is okay, we are at a very experimental stage. Earlier also income tax department was 98% online, everything was happening. But the taxation is so complicated that it makes people wary of it. They don't understand the law. It should be simplified. And is the government doing something for simplification of the Income Tax Act or the whole taxation policy?
Yes, so Akhilesh Ranjan committee was made to reform the direct tax codes. Yes.
Can you highlight the features? What did the report say?
Sorry,
are you aware of it?
Sorry, ma'am, I do not remember.
But I am glad that you have mentioned Akhilesh Ranjan. He is one of the best officers. He was 1 year senior to me. Done a very good job on this, and also the implementation part is lacking. We are not able to. The whole problem here is the implementation.
Yes,
so, as an officer, wherever you are posted, as a subdivisional officer or in whichever department you go for foreign services or you go for renting, how would you revamp yourself to do better? What will be your, how would you, the implementation part, how would you do that? Suppose you are posted as a sub-divisional officer already.
Yes.
Visualize that.
Yes.
And tell me what will you do what will be your first step?
Yes, ma'am. So one thing I have learned playing with a volleyball team is that you have to work as a team. So all the stakeholders that are involved, they must realize that they are working for a common goal. They also must realize that if we achieve the goal, our nation will progress. And then there should be incentive for all the team members to perform. So I will take all the team members along with me. I will motivate them, and also the general public, because finally the general public that is going to benefit. So make them aware of the benefits that they are going to it, and so it will become a more smooth and easy execution.
Yes. You are on the right track. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So I want to know that what do you think that what can be done to bring reform in education sector?
Yes,
With
ma'am.
regard to primary education, if I would say.
Yes, ma'am. So, like, what we have been doing till now is trying to increase the enrollment in our primary education. But the fundamental factor, if we look at the education from the basic principle, is that the students are not motivated enough. Even if we create infrastructure, the education curriculum is not interesting enough for the student. And so after a couple of years, maybe some of them leave the education. So I guess a lot more needs to be done on making the curriculum more interesting for the young students. Apart from that, sensitization training of teachers of needed at the primary levels. The infrastructure should be basically students friendly, and working as a team and making it a mass movement that yes, India has to become one of the most knowledge based economies. We have to like increase the budgetary allocation for education.
Right. So well answered, very well answered. So and what can be done to eradicate poverty then? And do you find any connection between poverty and like the thing you were talking about that we need to work on curricular and all that? But if you see the private sector, right? If you see the education in the private government elite schools, I don't find any difficulties with the curricular and with the syllabus, right? So there's a clear demarcation between a government curricular things and the way the syllabus is being taught in the private schools. Right.
Yes.
So what do you think on that?
Sorry, ma'am. Could you repeat the question?
See, I'm saying you were saying that we need to work on one of your point was saying that you were saying that we need to work on the syllabus and the curricular activities thing, right?
Yes.
So when I asked the question, it was about the education thing. You very well said that we need to work on that. But my question is, do you think that there is a demarcation and division between the government schools and the private schools? Because what you are saying is already there in the private schools.
Okay. If I look at myself, I studied in a government school, Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas.
Yeah.
And if you look at the CBSE marks percentage, the Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas are one of the most producing the best results over the years. Kendriya Vidyalayas again, which are government schools, they are producing the best results. So we can't say that the private sector is doing better than the government sector.
In terms of curriculum, also we can't say that.
Yeah. In terms of curriculum, at the very basic level,
Okay.
obviously there is the gap between the economic support to our primary schools and the schools run by private sector. So definitely there is going to be infrastructural differences. But given the resources, we need to innovate. There are really good people in our education system. We need to incentivize them and make the curriculum more interesting. I think we can come at the par with our private sector, even with government
So
schools.
is there any codependency between poverty and education?
Yes, sir. Definitely there is a correlation. But we can't say it is the only causation. Correlation is there because if you are not educated enough, if you don't have skills as per the economic demands, we won't be rich enough. However, there are people who haven't been educated well. They have been able to economically prosper if they have acquired any skill. So it's more about learning than a formal education.
Right. And you mentioned something about that, Israeli thing and all that. Can you just put more light on that? The point you were said, you said something on that?
Yes, ma'am. So basically, the education sector there is quite research intensive,
Yes.
and it is in part
How can you say that?
because they are trying to spend more on professors. They are giving,
Sorry.
yeah,
Do you have any data for that to support your answer?
yes, ma'am. They are the percentage of GDP that they give to the R&D is 7%.
7%.
Yes, which is one of the highest in the world, ma'am.
Okay, so you think that they are working on the brain, right?
They are working on knowledge creation.
Knowledge creation.
Yes.
So if you have the best knowledge, so most of our problems, which is there, in fact in India, can be resolved. Do you agree with that point?
Ma'am, being economically prosper is one of the necessary conditions to be a good nation, but definitely not a sufficient condition. there are other sectors, like we need to be environment friendly, we need to be socially moral in some conditions, like in some
What
criteria.
other factor Israelis are doing which we other countries are not doing in terms of knowledge creation?
Yes, ma'am. So they provide a lot of scholarship to students and the researchers. They respect a lot of, like if you look at the Nobel laureates, they produce, like the Jews usually produce a lot of Nobel laureates, basically because, yes ma'am, there is a lot of incentive for the students to do well there.
No, you're correct, you're correct. I totally agree with your viewpoint and the mindset. Have you ever read Michel Foucault?
Michel Foucault.
Yeah, we're talking about knowledge is power and power is knowledge.
Foucault, yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Foucault.
because he's vastly read by Israelis.
Yes.
If you have Michel Foucault. So can you just put some light on that?
Yes, so Foucault is talking it in a different context. So in his philosophy, he talks about that those who control the knowledge, they will control the power structures of the society,
Yeah.
and then they will exercise power over the common man.
Yeah.
But what Israelis are doing is they are creating knowledge for a particular sector, that is economic knowledge,
Yeah.
and they are leveraging that to gain prosperity and negotiate with the other world powers.
But Finland has the best education system.
Yes, Finland definitely
Finland has
does.
the best.
Yeah, basic education system they have.
What is the main thing in that Finland they focus on at the primary level?
Yes. So they are trying to reduce the workload on students.
Right.
They are trying to bring more creativity to the classrooms.
Is there any particular curriculum they follow?
I do not remember that.
They make curriculum according to individual students, right? Individual students. They do not have much, They are the students, they are the teachers. They talk, they first analyze for 5 to 7 years all the students there particularly, and according to that, they set up the curriculum.
Thank you,
I'm
ma'am.
done. Thank you.
Yes, we were talking about power, Foucault. Are you aware of the Foucault's notions of power?
Yes.
What Foucault says about power?
So Foucault, other than,
What is pastoral power and biopower?
so he is trying to talking about here about self-control. So what happens is the society. He talks that society is like a panopticon, and what happens is that it's like a jail, and we fear that the authority is observing us, and we try to behave in a particular manner. So we are trying to self-control. Disciplinary power is what he is talking about when he is talking about biopower.
Okay, what is allegory of cave?
Allegory of cave is the concept given by Plato, where he talks that we have a false notion that we have knowledge. So when we see the shadow, if we are not facing the sun and the sun is behind our back, so we will see the shadow and we will consider that it is a real thing, but it's not the real thing. So he talks about getting the real knowledge, avoiding the shadows.
Okay, what is Kantian notion of categorical imperative?
Kantian notion of categorical imperative.
Yes.
So actually Kant in his philosophy of ethics talks about that we must not think about what would be the end result. Our each step should be moral. So he gives a deontological reasoning to ethics. That is the categorical imperative. That every step should be ethical, moral, and we should not
And who said something totally against that?
Yeah.
A different 360-degree
Yeah.
reverse?
So it was Jeremy Bentham who gave the utilitarian concept. He talks about that the ends matter, the maximum good for maximum number matters.
The greatest good of the greatest
Greatest.
number.
Thank you.
Okay, what would be the impact on India's immediate neighborhood policy, of the COP detach in the Myanmar?
So it's a short-term incident. In long term, definitely we are going to see Myanmar as a democratic nation state.
You have not provided second in that form.
I have
No, we had. Yeah, sure.
Meanwhile, while they're
While you are filling your DAP, you have given first preferences in third zone preferences. When you fill the third zone, you give first preferences to Madhya Pradesh and last preferences to Chhattisgarh. Why?
So the primary reason is Madhya Pradesh is a big state. I will get lot of diverse challenges and lot of diversity to work upon from the west to east. There are different geographical areas. That was the primary reason for the giving the Madhya Pradesh the first one.
What are the salient features of new education policy?
Yes, sir. So in the new education policy, we are trying to incentivize the knowledge creation, better knowledge creation. We are trying to make education more skill based, more economy oriented, and we are trying to make our education more job oriented.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that, read it a bit more about the new education policy.
Yes.
Because this is a new thing which has come to India, and it is going to change the whole perspective of education, you know, the school education, the college education and everything, even the higher education, the perspective, there's a total paradigm shift.
Yes.
And it needs to be studied in detail. Just study that. You've done very well.
Very good. Just one last question I just wanted to know, just out of my personal mind. You have said that you like listening talks on Vedanta.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Vedanta. Can you just tell something on that? What's your views on that Vedanta thing?
Yes, ma'am. So Vedanta is basically the highest teaching of the Vedas that is contained in 3 key texts. Those are Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutras. Now, the interpretation of these 3 texts from the non-dualistic perspective was done by Shankaracharya, and that is called as Advaita Vedanta. Yes, ma'am.
So you keep listening to that.
Have you read Mr. G. Parthasarathy on Vedanta? He has written very well on Vedanta. Read some of his books. It will add value to your knowledge.
Sure, ma'am.
No. Review, sir. Review. Abhi kar dein baad mein.
It's been a very pleasant interaction with you.
Thank you very much.
Very well informed. The articulation also is very good. But how is it that you have been, sitting like this with your hands?
ये हाथ ऐसे मत रखो, ऐसे रखो, है ना? And you are very well dressed, perfectly dressed for the civil service.
It's very well informed. And ये जो आपने लोगो लगाया है ना, इसको हटा दीजिए.
क्या है ये?
No, this is a button, I guess.
हाँ, हटा दीजिए.
Okay, I will look into it.
It distracts the attention.
Okay.
तो सब ठीक है. And have the thing further. And you are a club.
You want to ask anything? You want to ask anything?
As of now, like, how many marks would you give me out of 275?
No, we are not trying to.
I give you 270.
If you ask me, I'll give you 275. You got brilliant mind.
No. Yeah. But one thing I want to say you that say no. Sir, I don't know. Yeah, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. I don't know. I will read it again. You have answered few questions without knowing, right? You try
Guess
to.
what मत करो.
हाँ, ऐसे नहीं करना है. जैसे मैंने pastoral power, when I asked you pastoral power and bio power, you told me disciplinary power.
Yes.
But Foucault talks about 3 kinds of power.
Okay.
Right, disciplinary power, right, Foucault power, disciplinary power, bio power and one more, अभी मैंने क्या बोला था? I forgot what I asked you, question I got, right, he talks about 3 kinds of power. So I asked something, you answered me something.
I'm sorry.
So when you don't know, then say, sir, I don't know, I will read it again, right, I will read it.
I will do.
Is pastoral power, bio power, pastoral power and disciplinary power. Okay, so that is from my side.
From my side, I would just say you got everything, but you just have to present more confident. You
Uh-huh.
have to be more confident because you got really good mind.
Yes.
Your knowledge is super,
Good.
and the way you answer articulation at service, that also great. So you do not have to be nervous. Just do some activities which ma'am can also suggest to get confidence in you.
Like, would you like to tell me one skill that I need to improve upon? Like,
that confidence, from my side.
No, you have a very pleasant personality. You are well dressed. Everything is plus. The only thing is, don't self doubt,
Yeah.
even for a minute. Don't have to ask how many what would be your score,
Yes, yes.
So if I say your answers are good, then they are good enough. So that is all right. Everything is fine. ये अंगूठी मत पहनो, सब लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि अंगूठी पहन के इंटरव्यू नहीं देना चाहिए, तो मत पहनना। एक तो ये हो गया। दूसरा, बलिया के बारे में थोड़ा पढ़ लेना।
बिल्कुल।
उसका बड़ा पॉलिटिकल इम्पोर्टेंस है।
पहला क्वेश्चन यही पूछने वाला था, बलिया और बक्सर में क्या अंतर है?
इसलिए कि चंद्रशेखर was during his young days he was considered as a power to reckon with. He was young Turk.
Yes.
Very, very articulate. Gradually he was always against the ruling party, so he didn't get so much opportunity, and his tenure also. But Balliar was his constituency, so you need to know about Chandrasekhar very well, because local questions आएंगे ना, so you need to know about Balliar, what is the plus points and minus points, and how well it is connected with the other parts of the country, and politically कितना important constituency रहा है, whether it was developed to the expectation of the people there, है ना? तो ये सब देख लेना, क्योंकि बलिया बहुत ही ईस्टर्न यूपी का एक बहुत important junction है।
जी बिल्कुल।
So that way.
When is your interview?
On 27th of April.
27th. It's a year.
27th. Second day of the interview.
Second day of the interview. ठीक। All the best then.
All the best. Thank you.